We had to start this war, you just said, 60 days ago, because the nuclear weapon was an imminent threat. Now you're saying that it was completely obliterated?
They had not given up their nuclear ambitions, and they had a conventional shield of thousands of missiles.
So Operation Midnight Hammer accomplished nothing of substance. It left us at exactly the same place we were before.
Congressman Adam Smith of Washington is not a casual critic of the Pentagon. He is the ranking Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, a lawmaker trained in defense budgets, war powers, and military oversight. In this hearing, he does not begin with outrage. He begins with the bill: munitions spent, equipment destroyed, 2 C-130S reportedly lost. Then the number enters the record, $25 billion. But Smith's real question is larger. What did America actually buy?
Mr. Hurst, drag you into the conversation here. We have not yet received from the Pentagon the costs of the war. So just for the record, we'd like to get that as soon as possible. Certainly the munitions expended, but also underreported is we've had a fair amount of equipment destroyed, including 2 C-130s with the rescue of our downed airmen. So do you have either A, a cost estimate coming to us anytime soon, or B, a specific supplemental request?
Thank you for that question. So approximately at this day, we're spending about $25 billion on Operation Epic Fury. Most of that is in munitions. There's part of that it's obviously O&M and equipment replacement. We will formulate a supplemental through the White House that will come to Congress once we have a full assessment of the cost of the conflict.
Sure. So you're saying the full cost at this point is $25 billion?
Yeah, that's our estimate for the cost.
Okay. Interesting, because I'm glad you answered that question, because we've been asking for a hell of a long time and no one's given us the number. So if you could get those details over to us, that would be great. Mr. Secretary, you mentioned the nuclear aspect of Iran and the war. And it is worth noting that every president prior to this one, including President Trump in his first term, also prevented Iran from getting a nuclear weapon without actually having to go to war in Iran. So we need to keep that in mind. But also, since the war started, Iran's nuclear arsenal has not been weakened in any way. And at the moment, in negotiations, what Iran is saying, basically pay us to open up the strait. That's their position, which is completely untenable. I agree. It's worth noting, of course, that the strait was open before the war started. Now we're negotiating to get back to status quo. And Iran's most recent offer is to say, we'll talk about nukes later. So what is the plan to actually turn all of this lethal kinetic action into an improvement in the nuclear situation? Because we haven't gotten there yet. Play it out for us. How does that happen? How does it actually lead to that result?
Well, I would take issue with the premise of the question that nothing was done. Operation Midnight Hammer was a very effective.
Well, I didn't say nothing was done. I said in this war.
Ultimately,
this war started.
Well, this under this administration, unlike other administrations, which cut bad deals and pallets of cash with no ability to oversee whether Iran is actually pursuing a nuclear program.
Which is where
if we want to litigate JCPOA or the Iran deal, our view, the president's view, is that was a very bad deal.
Okay.
That gave them a bunch of money up front.
What's the future?
To fund, you talked about negotiated deals. Allowed them to fund their proxies and spread Hamas and Hezbollah all around the region, build up nuclear capabilities.
That's great. What are we going to do now?
President Trump has been clear-eyed, from the killing of Qasem Soleimani to the pulling out of the Iran deal to Midnight Hammer and now to this effort to recognize that you have to stare down this kind of enemy who's hell-bent on getting a nuclear weapon and get them to a point where they're at the table giving it up in a way that ensures they never have it.
So they haven't broken yet. Okay, we haven't gotten there yet. For all of the
well, their nuclear facilities have been obliterated. Underground, they're buried, and we're watching them 24/7. So we know where any nuclear material
reclaiming
might be.
my time for just a quick second here. We had to start this war, you just said, 60 days ago, because the nuclear weapon was an imminent threat. Now you're saying that it was completely obliterated?
They had not given up their nuclear ambitions, and they had a conventional shield of thousands of missiles.
So Operation Midnight Hammer accomplished nothing of substance. It left us at exactly the same place we were before. So much so that
their facilities were bombed and obliterated. Their ambitions continued, and they're building a conventional shield.
All right, let me try again.
It's the North Korea strategy. You know this very well. The North Korea strategy was use conventional missiles to prevent anybody from challenging them so they could slow walk their way to a weapon. President Trump saw Iran at its weakest moment, took an action to ensure, in a way that only the United States of America could do with our Israeli partners,
and yet
to ensure their
conventional
shield was brought to
one other
field,
question,
which we've done.
if I could get to it. So on Ukraine, a year plus ago, your advice, the president's advice, was Ukraine had no cards to play. They should go cut the best possible deal they could. Clearly, that was wrong. What did you miss? What did you miss about the conflict between Russia and Ukraine that you didn't see that Ukraine was going to be capable of doing what they've done in the last 14 months?
What we didn't miss, and we're here in this committee, is that Joe Biden, with no accountability, gave hundreds of billions of dollars of our weapons to Ukraine, to an outcome that never would have happened if President Trump was president. So he pulled out you guys don't talk about that. Ultimately, President Trump believes there should be a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. And that serves
but you
the
didn't
best
expect
interest of both
Ukraine to
parties.
be where they're at right now. I'm asking you, just from a strategic standpoint, what
I
did
think the
you miss?
Ukrainians have shown great courage, and I appreciate that Europe is now paying for any weapons that we provide.
All right, I yield back. Thank you.
What Smith exposes here is a problem the administration cannot explain cleanly. The administration said the war had to begin because Iran's nuclear threat was imminent, but in the same exchange, Hegseth says Iran's nuclear facilities had already been obliterated underground and were being watched 24/7. Smith hears both claims and places them side by side. That is the pressure point. If the nuclear threat was already crushed, why was a new war necessary? And if the threat was still imminent, then what exactly did the earlier operation accomplish? Smith does not come into this moment with a slogan. He comes with the record. He starts with cost. He asks Hearst for the number Congress had not been given. The witness testifies that Operation Epic Fury is estimated at approximately $25 billion. Most of that, according to the testimony, is munitions. Some of it is operation and maintenance. Some of it is equipment replacement. Smith also puts reported losses into the record, including 2 C-130As connected to the rescue of downed airmen. Then he moves from the invoice to the legal and strategic premise. He notes that previous presidents, including Trump in his first term, prevented Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon without starting this war. He points to the Strait, which he says was open before the war began. Now, according to Smith, the United States is negotiating to get back to that same condition. That matters because a war is not judged only by the damage it causes. It is judged by the position it leaves behind. Hegseth's response does not fully solve that problem. He talks about the JCPOA. He talks about pallets of cash. He talks about proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, Qasem Soleimani, and President Trump's earlier decisions. But Smith's question is narrower than that. He is not asking for a history of Iran policy. He is asking for the plan that turns lethal kinetic action into an improved nuclear situation. That answer never fully arrives. Instead, the testimony shifts. The facilities were obliterated, but the ambitions continued. The sites were bombed, but the threat remained. The weapons program was supposedly damaged, but the war still had to be launched. That is the pattern Smith exposes. Victory language on one side, unresolved danger on the other. Then he widens the frame to Ukraine. He asks Hegseth what he missed when he judged that Ukraine had no cards to play. Again, the answer moves away from the strategic question and back toward blame. This is why the hearing matters beyond one exchange. In a democracy, war powers depend on trust. Budgets depend on trust. Classified claims depend on trust. When officials ask the public to accept a war, a price tag, and a theory of imminent danger, the permanent record has to make sense. Here, Smith's case is simple. The cost was specific, the justification was shifting, and the strategy was still missing.